Will you start record? Oh, it's already, okay. Okay, so again, namaste and greetings to all of you that join us today. Thanks to Erica and all the team for their efforts in organizing this series of lectures. And before starting, I invite you to take a few moments of silence with a sense of gratitude and unity, being aware of the space we inhabit here and now, all united with a common purpose beyond physical distance and time zones. I will chant the Gayatri Mantra, which unites sounds, thought, and devotion, embodies wisdom, knowledge, and its divinity is associated with the solar logos or the spiritual sun as a call to our higher self, expanding awareness from the I to the we, the universal consciousness. So whoever wants to close the eyes or just relax, uh, Om Bhu, Om Bhuvaha, Om Suvaha, Om Maha, Om Janaha, Om Tapaha, Om Satyam, Om Tat Savitur Varenyam, Bargo Devasya Dimahi, Dio Yo Naha Prachodayat. Om Apoyo Tiraso Amritam Brahma Purvasuvaro. Well, let's go back to the year 1977, when one day a phone rang in Adyar with a call meant for Rukmini Devi, a renowned theosophist, animal welfare activist, and the first woman in India's history to be nominated as a member of parliament. On the other end of the line was the Prime Minister of India at the time, Morarji Desai, asking for her consent to become the president. Somewhat puzzled, she inquired, President of what? To which he replied, President of India. At the time, Rukmini Devi was deeply engaged in her work, partly overseeing the Kalakshetra Foundation, partly in Holland, tending to what is now the International Theosophical Center in Naarden, partly at the Animal Welfare Board of India, and many other institutions and initiatives in which she was involved. She did not even seriously consider the offer. Her heart actually belonged to her multifaceted mission, not to the corridors of Lutyens Rashtrapati Bhavan, that is the president's residence in Delhi. So, with grace and conviction, she politely declined. Rukmini Devi Arundel's life is one to be known and celebrated. A woman of many passions, she made significant contributions across diverse fields. In all of them, the influence of theosophy was felt and deeply carried. Her interests and causes included art, theosophy, animal welfare, vegetarianism, Tibet's freedom, and the preservation of India's spiritual and cultural essence. She was even awarded a Doctor on Humanities honoris causa and received numerous accolades and prizes during her life and career. A practical theosophist, she believed that any activity will become a channel for beautiful expression, inspiring to action by Annie Besant herself. Rukmini Devi was not only an idealist, but also a woman of great courage and perseverance in the pursuit of her ideals. One cannot talk about the woman without inextricably refer to her work and legacy. I'll begin to share my screen now. So, I wanted to begin with this quote of hers that says, "The greatest artist is one who is an embodiment of beauty," which she took on her own life towards her work in general. Today, we will celebrate this female theosophist, remembering her life and legacy as the one of the dance of grace. A big amount of the information that I am going to share with you comes from the book Rukmini, Devi, Alive by Lila Samso, who was one of her prominent students. And it's a biography worth reading. I highly recommend it. It was published by Penguin Editors. The rest is part of the history of the Theosophical Society and other sources. Oh, wait. What happened? Why is not sharing? I mean, it's sharing, but it's not coming the next slide. Let me just. What happened? I'm sorry. I'm going to stop sharing and going back again because there is some issue with the PowerPoint. Okay. Okay, for some reason, if I put it full screen, it doesn't share. So I guess, why is this happening? This has never happened. So let me try to share with the other laptop that I am using. Maybe that will work better. Erica, can you make me co-host with the other one? Please. And I don't know if someone is saying that the sound is not working, so let me just check. Maybe the sound will be better. Can you hear me properly? Is it okay that we change the microphone? Is the sound better now? Can you hear me better now? Can you hear me better now? Hello? Can you hear me? Oh, oh, better before? Oh my God. Like this? Better now. This is the first version I guess. Is it better or not? Let me guess. If it is not the first version, I will change it. Better than the second version. Okay, let me try the first one. This is the first version. Is it better?
That's a lot better, Catalina. Yes, stay on that microphone.
Thank you very much. So I will speak loudly, I promise.
Okay, also the screen is much clearer now. The black line has gone away. Well done. Well done.
Okay, thank you very much. Okay, so okay, let's go back to where we were. So actually, as I was saying that, I was going to begin about her early life. Ruku, as she was affectionately called in her family. Wait, give me just 1 second. Is my image coming? I
We
mean, my
still have
face,
the
my face
early
coming?
years. You have the early years on the screen.
So, no, we can see your image, but the sound is good.
Okay, okay, good. That's good. Yeah. As far as the sound is good, I guess it's okay. That's what now it's okay. So Ruku, as she was affectionately called in her family, was born on February 29, 1904, a leap year during the auspicious Mahamagan Festival. That is a grand Hindu celebration held every 12 years in Kumbakonam, that is a district of Tamil Nadu. Her birthplace was Madurai, a city renowned for its majestic Meenakshi temple dedicated to the goddess of unparalleled beauty and grace, as if this was a preamble of her figure and meaning for Indian culture. She was the sixth of 8 children born to the Brahmin matrimony of Nilakanta Shastri and Sashamal Iyer. Her eldest sibling, that was 14 years her elder, was Sri Ram, the father of Radha Burniers and president of Theosophical Society. And there were 2 more sisters, 2 more brothers, and then the 3 last children were Rukmini, Vishalashki, and Subramanian. And among all of them, Sri Ram stood out, thoughtful, meditative, and deeply compassionate. He later became Annie Besant's close associate in the New India office, championing India's home rule movement. Rukmini's father was an engineer and a Vedantic student who wrote even commentaries on the Upanishads, while her mother came from a traditional musical family. Likely inheriting her artistic inclinations for her mother's side, Rukmini grew up surrounded by music and storytelling. Evenings were filled with Ramayana recitations that her father used to say to do, and sometimes her mother. And those recitations left a deep impression, inspiring her to later choreograph the Ramayana into 6 full-length dance dramas. Her upbringing was simple yet enriching, with moral lessons absorbed from those around her. Their home welcomed guests, and Rukmini was influenced by family discussions, visitors from different places of India. So this really enriched the thought and all the experience of her childhood. She was raised a strict vegetarian. She inherited her father's values and a critical eye for the arts and a strong sense of justice. Those principles that she inherited from her father were later what drove her to challenge societal norms and reshape India's artistic landscape, always choosing the most refined expressions in art. As an infant, Rukmini was remembered as serene, dreamy, patient, attractive, with dark, luminous eyes and a delicate nose. Her father was an executive engineer in the Madras Presidency, and they used to travel very frequently. He has sent their elder children to the board schooling, but this time he decided that he didn't want to send these 3 last children, the youngest, to boarding school. So they used to travel with him and the mother on the assignments. So that way they had a very unconventional education. Sometimes, depending on the place, they will be tutored privately. Sometimes, if there was any school available, they will attend the local school. This was an itinerant lifestyle that was for them free from rigid school routines, from discipline and homework. And this gave the 3 last children a sense of freedom that they cherish. Rukmini's younger sister, that is the one sitting on the chair near the mother. Rukmini is the one sitting on the floor, and the younger brother is the one sitting on the floor. Shalaski, her younger sister, she recalled that Rukmini and I had few friends our age. So we were always together until she married at 16. Her talents were not immediately obvious. Though she was good at drawing, excelled in school, and could sing any song after hearing it just once. No one in the family imagined that she would one day astonish the country with her artistic and humanitarian achievements. Rukmini's father strongly supported Annie Besant's reform movements, and the family came under her influence. The Theosophical Society was driving change in South India and in all India, promoting truth above religion and unity beyond caste and creed. Then, upon his retirement, that was possible by the mother's savings. She used to save whatever he gave for the household expenses. She used to save. So by the time he was old, he was able to retire because she was saving all this money. So when she asked him, "What will you do if you can retire?" He answered to his wife, "I will, if I can retire, I will move to Madras." That was the name of Chennai at the time, and I will work for the Theosophical Society as a volunteer. So thanks to that, the family moved to Adyar, and this was a decision that proved life-changing. Sri Ram, as we already mentioned, was already working with Besant, and Rukmini's life soon became deeply intertwined with the Theosophical Society and with Adyar itself, and with Madras or Chennai. Her father and had many theosophies acquaintances, and the family used to attend regularly the TS meetings, functions, lectures, etc. Rukmini actually credited Annie Besant and her husband George Arundel with shaping her life. This moving to Adyar happened when she was 12 years old. And when she was 12 years old when she first saw Annie Besant, and she was old. Actually, she says she was like a rishi. Rishi is like a master, like sage, like a saint, a goddess embodying beauty and brilliance. Though I am Indian, she taught me to love my country. Rukminiji admired the devotion that Annie Besant gave to India. And she says, "I learned what is to love this country from her. She gave me the eyes to see India, the inspiration to revere it." Along with other young theosophies from the time, she volunteered in Theosophical Society activities, and they were a group of young theosophies running here and there around the campus. Well, and actually it was life-changing for her because she got married here. She got married with George Arundel, who more than a decade before moved to TS. And 2 years before Rukmini's birth in 1902.
Catalina, your voice is quite far.
Okay, I'll go near.
We cannot hear you very well.
Oh my goodness. Okay. If I move towards this side, is it better?
Now it's better.
Now it's better? Okay. So just let me do something here. And change the. Okay. So as I was telling you that more than a decade before that she moved to the Theosophical Society, and 2 years before her birthday, before her birth in 1902, George Arundel, who was a 24-year-old young gentleman, member of the London Lodge of the Theosophical Society, had met Annie Besant in London, and drawn to her mission, moved to India the following year. Rukmini and Arundel met while he used to visit her father during the period of illness preceding Nilakanta's death. Despite opposition from some members of her family and the Brahmin community. Annie Besant approved her marriage. And Rukmini's mother, who respected very much Annie Besant, and of course, Sri Ram, in spite of all this opposition, they followed Annie Besant's blessing. And the couple that was not supported in Madras at the time, but they were supported by the Blavatsky Lodge in Mumbai. They went there in Mumbai on April 27 of 1920, beginning a lifelong partnership that will be really very important in Rukmini's life because it will deepen her humanitarian spirit and open for her the field of theosophy and the world. She became then a member of the Theosophical Society right after her marriage, that was only at 16 years old. And at that early age, she was immersed in an intellectual and spiritual circle of truth seekers. Since then, the influences and events that will nurture her beginning of the extraordinary journey began to shape. In 1921, Annie Besant founded what was called the 1921 Club in Madras, with the aim to promote the arts, and in 1923, Arundale helped her establish the Young Theosophist movement, with Rukmini as its president. In 1925, after the Jubilee celebrations of the Theosophical Society, Arundale and Rukmini left for Australia with Leadbeater. And Arundale accepted the office of secretary of the Australian section of the Theosophical Society. Then, while they were there, Rukmini grew close to Leadbeater, who deepened her understanding of theosophy. And she says, "He was a mystery to me, but a guiding light." During these days, just at 22 years old, she gained exposure to Western art, music, and dance, broadening her perspective. Her husband introduced her to museums, operas, and orchestras, inspiring her future work with Indian arts and culture. Upon returning to Adyar, she took on youth activities in the Theosophical Society, and her confidence and the worldview expanded. In 1928, during the Annunciation feast at the Liberal Catholic Church here in the campus at Adyar, Annie Besant had an idea of consecrating Rukmini Devi, emphasizing specifically the feminine spirit's role through emotion, through action as well. It was kind of a prelude also for her life, motion, action, engagement. Some people say that at that moment, she was proposed kind of as the world mother, much like Jiddu Krishnamurti was proposed kind of the world teacher. She was proposed like the world mother by Annie Besant. And in that moment is where she takes the name Devi. Annie Besant, from that moment onwards, was very insistent to people to call her Devi, Rukmini Devi Arundale. Some theosophists thought that this was like the representation of feminine spirituality. So they motivate her to start some movement of League of Motherhood. However, she didn't feel very inspired by the project, so she declined. George Arundale, her husband, supported her in this decision because he was also convinced that she was destined to create a greater impact on other fields. Later, she kind of fulfilled this world mother role by working endlessly in the Theosophical Society. In many other fields, she was, for instance, officer knight of the Basanta Round Table and used to perform ceremonies here, later in Narden as well. And of course, I mean, she became the mother of many students in the Kalakshetra field. So that was really something that happened in another, maybe in a different way of what they were imagining at the time. Theosophy, which influenced many progressive people and movements at that time, gave her perspective and encouraged her to pursue the true calling of her heart. While her work was deeply rooted in her own culture, Theosophy helped her rise above herself, weaving its particular orthodoxy with a degree of freedom and also like a wide and open mind. To Rukmini's love for music was nurtured in childhood. She felt no particular draw to dance. She was more inclined to sing. Actually, her father wanted her to become a Sanskrit scholar or a musician. But something very important happened in 1924, when she saw in London at Covent Garden the greatest dancer of all times, Anna Pavlova, the Russian. As a child, she had witnessed also temple processions here in India and heard the rhythmic tarukasi, that are the wooden blocks that are used for the music of Sadir. Sadir, we will see later what is Sadir. That was the temple dance, but we will see in detail later. However, Sadir was exclusive to a select community of dancers and teachers, socially distant due to caste restriction and stigma. Seeing Pavlova was really transformative for her. It was a life-changing encounter. She used to say that she was like a bird, Pavlova, soaring above all others. I watched her again and again, spending every penny to take friends to see her. Rukmini found herself repeatedly drawn to the ballerina's world. They met several times with Pavlova, and in one of the conversations that they had, Pavlova encouraged her to dance. She told her, "Why don't you dance? I will teach you." Immediately, the Rukmini was very happy. They had the first lesson, in which Rukmini felt like an initiation by a guru. But fate intervened, because at that year, Pavlova passed away in 1930. They couldn't meet again for a second lesson, but Rukmini could be trained as a ballerina for some sessions with Cleo Nordi, that was Pavlova's chief dancer. So this somehow carried Pavlova's spark. And this really shaped her forever. That's when the revival of Bharatanatyam, that is the other name for Sadir, came. Sadir or Bharatanatyam is a sacred dance performed by Devadasis, that are the women's dancers that dedicate her life to the temple service. In ancient times, it adorned temples and courts believed to protect the king from evil. However, in the current times of Rukmini's times, it was not very well seen. It has been corrupted and a little bit vulgarized. But in 1932, 2 years after she took her first ballet lesson with Anna Pavlova, she witnessed a Sadir performance that was the next thing that changed her life. She was fascinated. And in that fascination, she was determined to learn the art of Sadir. However, she was a Brahmin. She was married to an European. So she was rejected by all the teachers that she was asking to teach her. She was determined. One of the characteristics of Rukmini Devi's character was determination. She decided that she was going to find a guru. She visited every Devadasi in the city with her brother Yageshwara, who supported her. And eventually, the Adyar Library's director at the time introduced her to Gauri Amal, who was a legendary dancer of the Kapaleshwara temple in Madras. She was very renowned for her expression, or what is called abhinaya in the terms of dance, and she agreed to teach her. Also, it was not very common to have female teachers. So she used to visit the Theosophical Society daily. Later, with Meenakshi Sundaram Pillai, that was one of the most renowned dancers of the time and teachers, and who was one of those who initially rejected Rukmini Devi. When he saw the interest, and Gauri Amal told him about Rukmini Devi's talent, he accepted her as a student. Rukmini became then the first Brahmin woman to enter the Devadasi world, and that shocked both communities. Her courage was strengthened by E. Krishna Iyer, that was another Brahmin, but he was a male, so he was also advocating for Sadir's revival. And with this entering into the world of Devadasi and Bharatanatyam, she redefined the form, enriching its vocabulary, pioneering innovations unseen in generations. She helped redefining the costumes, the music, the storytelling, and especially she helped Bharatanatyam to reach, to go out from this vulgarized environment that it was, to make it again a sacred form of art. So in September 1933, when Annie Besant passed away, that was an important moment also for her life, because after that, George Arundel followed her in the presidencies, and so he became the president of the Theosophical Society. And this was, without any doubt, a very important support for Rukmini's initiatives and ideas in the Theosophical Society. At that year, when he became president of the Theosophical Society, honoring Annie Besant's interest in education, George Arundel launched the Besant Memorial Theosophical School, and it had Rabindranath Tagore as a patron. And the aim was to give a differential education to children. So this was one of the first things. Rukmini Devi was later, this was one of the institutions that she took under her care. And at the 1935 Theosophical Convention, the annual convention that many of you must have attended when it coming to India, just 2 years into her dance training, she defied opposition and performed Bharatanatyam, which was not something allowed. I mean, not only she was a Brahmin married to an European that had already made so many different things, but also she was daring to perform in public. And she invited a lot of people that were very accepting. And they didn't want to come actually, because she was really breaking so many things at the moment. But what she wanted was to show them how Sadir is a sacred art. Even her guru was initially reluctant, but he ended up coming. And on 30 December, at age 31, Rukmini Devi gave her first public performance. She proved that when presented with purity, dance could elevate the soul. Influenced by Theosophy, she saw art as a means of spiritual expression and Bharatanatyam as a transformative practice. Challenging societal and caste constraints, she redefined the dance into a spiritual and artistic expression of Indians' heritage. Skeptics left mesmerized, totally converted. Their perceptions have totally changed after seeing her on the stage. James Cousin, a very remarkable poet, Irish poet, whose wife Margaret was very close to Theosophy, he remarked, the theater was filled with a presence rather than a personality. Barbara Ceylon, who was at the time the director of the TPH or the Basanta, I don't remember exactly which, said in the Theosophy, she published an article in the Theosophies, and she said, the performance was utterly impersonal and deeply spiritual. So she had really got her goal. On December 31st, following her performance, Cousins had to deliver a lecture on the second objective of the Theosophical Society. And he advocated for the inclusion of art in studies in that objective, inspired by her performance. The evening became a defining moment, not just for Rukmini Devi, but for the future of Indian dance. When Rukmini took up Sadir or Bharatanatyam, she was responding to an instinct. But soon the dance will develop into a passion, a life mission that will involve more than the mere act of performing. It will be something that will allow her to go deep into the very root of the Indian culture and the sacred dimensions of the same. That night, as friends reflected on the significance of the event, the idea of an art center at that yard was born. So on January 6th, only 1 week after that performance, on 1936, Rukmini established the International Academy of Arts, which later will be named Kalakshetra. Kalakshetra means the holy place of arts. And this academy was dedicated to reviving India's artistic tradition, free from vulgarity and commercialism. She said, "We want not to merely revive all arts. We want not to merely revive all arts, but to create new ones with the same spirit that embodies the essence of Indian thought." And that was located, for those who know, the premises of the Theosophical Society in Besant Garden, near to the Besant Bungalow, near to the Saporta Garden. And there was a theater where they used to perform, the academy used to perform, that was in what we all today know as the Vasanta Press, and it was a different kind of building, but it was the same place. So she redefined Bharatanatyam, elevating its intrinsic dignity while making bold yet respectful innovations. Her vision balanced tradition and transformation. She used to say, "We must not accept everything just because it is tradition." But she also said, "Not everything new is creative." So she really had this kind of balanced view. So seen as a traditionalist, she was in truth a revolutionary. It was something that had never been done before what she did, the reinterpretation of tradition, the almost impossible balancing of her finely honed aesthetic. She took every opportunity she had to bring innovations. For instance, a key shift occurred in the early 40s. When some teachers left, there were no more teachers. They had to quit. Of course, most of them were male. And she saw the necessity of having new teachers, so she began to introduce the women Natuvarnas, that is the term for the teachers. And that really challenged the male monopoly that was in the dance world at the time. Another example is when breaking social barriers, Rukmini persuaded a temple priest to let her perform within the temple grounds, blending devotion with defiance. I mean, it was a devotional request, but it was also a defiant one. Because she was a Brahmin woman embracing an outcast's fervor. She was actually a kind of an outcast in both worlds. A Brahmin woman in the Bharatanatyam world, but also a woman that was not a dancer by birth. And this was for her, like this performance was a declaration of a profound spiritual experience. And she said that at that moment that she did that dance, she felt that she completely lost track of time and space. It was a complete spiritual experience. So I want to show you a fragment of a video. So you have an idea of how the Bharatanatyam is, for those who don't know how the Bharatanatyam is or haven't had the opportunity to see. It will be very short. I don't even play it all. It's played in a temple. see, okay, the temple, etc. And every movement, every mudra that they do, and every gesture, every look, everything tells the story. That's the way part of the story is told by the expressions of these women that dance and men also. So this refinement, this kind of gesture was one of the things that she did because it seems that at the moment, this kind of expressions were a little bit vulgarized. So she brought this kind of change to make them again, telling a sacred story. Every single of them tells a different story, and always something that is to be kept in mind while dancing the Bharatanatyam is this contact with the higher, because the art is an offering to the sacred.
Catalina, darling, could you
Yes.
please speak closer to the mic? Thank you.
Well, so now it comes with all these things, it comes the Kalakshetra's blossoming, the cultural renaissance that came into place with this Kalakshetra, that it was found in 1936 here in Adyar, but only got the official registration as a public institution dedicated to the study and performance of classical arts in 1940. And on that occasion, Rukmini Devi produced The Light of Asia by Sir Edwin Arnold, reflecting her belief that true freedom for India required a strong cultural foundation. That same year, she launched a series of dance recitals, emphasizing that dance must be a spiritual offering. And she says, it is all very well to remove the poverty of the body, but there is also the poverty of the spirit. What is necessary is the transformation of the human being. This is the purpose of Kalakshetra. Beyond that, she worked to revive traditional arts in general. She even launched a weaving section of the Kalakshetra in 1944. And the Kalakshetra created something that is known here in Chennai as the iconic Kalakshetra sari, especially characterized by the bright colors and for having like a bottom part a little more white. Actually, with this weaving section, for every single performance, she will make like customize dresses for the dancers. So it was a very important resource in all the Kalakshetra's performances. So what began humbly under a tree in Adyar, inspired by theosophical ideals, evolved into Kalakshetra, which is today a world-renowned academy setting rigorous Bharatanatyam standards. More than an institution, it became a kshetra. Kshetra is a sacred space where master and disciple embark on an artistic and spiritual journey, embodying Rukmini Devi's deepest convictions. Rukmini Devi was called affectionately Atai, that is maternal auntie in Tamil, by her students. And she envisioned Kalakshetra. Sorry, I'm having a little cold. Actually, a strong cold. Envisioned Kalakshetra as a major cultural center. In a letter to prospective students, she wrote, no other land teaches that art is a divine gift and that every art is a messenger of the gods. I do not wish to create mere performers, but artists with knowledge, devotion, creativity, and idealism. In 1941, Kalakshetra's reputation had spread beyond Madras and attracted students from all over the world. She used to say that with all art, all aspects of life will fall short of achieving their purpose. And she moved forward into the new age. And she said that and as we move forward into the new age, we must restore to the arts the place they have lost in education, religion, industry, and commerce, in national and international life, in individual and social living. So I have a very short video, which is one of the few. This is one of the few videos in which we can see her actually in action. This lady that is there is Rukmini Devi. Then this is her in her old age. I just wanted to show it to you because I mean it's really beautiful to see her grace and her expression. Something happened in August 1945. Arundel passed away, and the new leadership of the Theosophical Society sought to refocus on its core spiritual mission. And this led to a policy that was called the policy of disassociation from external projects. And as part of this, Kalakshetra, too, though it was inspired by Theosophy, was seen as an independent institution and was eventually relocated from Adyar to Tiruvanmiyur. Tiruvanmiyur is very near. I mean, now it's 9 kilometers. Now it's very near. At the time, it was very difficult to access because there was no road. So you can see in the picture that we're moving with bullet carts. And Tiruvalmiyur is said to be the anglicized version of Tiru Valmikiur, that is the sacred place of Valmiki. And this is kind of interesting because Valmiki is the author of the Ramayana, and she put in play a lot of Ramayana stories. And also, her father used to read the Ramayana for them when they were children. So she ended up putting Kalakshetra in Tiruvanmiyur, the sacred place of Valmiki. This move took 15 years. So it was only completed by the beginning of the 60s. And slowly, they rented house, bought some land, etc., etc. And on 51, they planted a sapling of the banyan tree, of the great banyan tree that is here in Adyar. Nowadays, it's a big banyan tree in Kalakshetra. And they began the classes even in the grounds outside, as you can see in the last picture. During all the time of this moving, Kalakshetra continued to grow, and it became a hub for education and culture, forming a triad institution with the Byzantine Theosophical High School that was founded by Arundel, Kalakshetra, and the Arundel Montessori School and Teaching Training Center that she founded in honor to Arundel. And also she put it Montessori because Arundel and her were the ones who brought Maria Montessori here to India, where she had a big impact also, Maria Montessori. So by 1961, the move was complete, and this banyan tree, metaphorically, but also literally, had spread the roots in many places. But she didn't want to be regarded only as a dancer. She wished to ennoble whatever aspect of life she touched. So, beyond dance, she is also known as our animal welfare fighter. She championed in social and political issues. She believed that women played a crucial role in shaping national culture and supported female causes. She was passionate about animal welfare. She led the Indian Vegetarian Congress and was instrumental in founding the Animal Welfare Board in India in 1962, of which she was the board member until her death. Her activism was in all the areas. And actually, this defense of the animals had when she was chosen as a parliamentary, she was the first woman in India that was elected as a member of the parliament for 2 consecutive terms, one in 52 and one in 56. And instead, we will imagine that she will prioritize art and culture, but her real priority during those political periods were the animal rights. And she got to a very big achievement that was passing the Prevention of Cruelty to Animals Act that was passed in 1960 after years of setbacks and refusal. Since her first time, she proposed it, but it was always refused until in 1960, she proposed this Prevention of Cruelty for Animals Act. Her impact extended beyond legislation. She organized an air raid precaution during the Second World War, an animal dispenser, the first World Vegetarian Congress. Whether in the arts, in the politics, in the humanitarian causes, Rukmini Devi's life remained a blend of activism and artistic excellence, earning her countless accolades. She welcomed dignitaries to Kalakshetra, including the Dalai Lama, Nehru, Queen Elizabeth, and a lot more. The list is long. She was deeply involved in humanitarian efforts, including advocating for Tibetan refugees. When Nehru offered the Tibetan people asylum here in India, she was invited to be part of the relief committee and proposed even an education program for young Tibetans at Kalakshetra. So the proposal was that a group of young Tibetan people will come with 2 months to take care of them, and they will be trained in traditional crafts in Sanskrit, in English, and of course in their native language by the monks that will be accompanying them. The Dalai Lama visited Kalakshetra again in December 1959, and this bond was reinforced. They met in several occasions. Her work, as she always reminded, was deeply touched and inspired by theosophical ideals, and she extended it beyond conventional boundaries. During her years in the parliament, the 8 years that she was in the parliament, she balanced responsibilities between Delhi and Madras with tireless dedication. Even if she was afraid of flying, she overcame every obstacle that was presented before her in order to do what she considered to be her life mission in many different fields. Consider all her endeavors part of her spiritual mission. That was something that from the theosophical background that she had since an early age, she has very clear that she will have this spiritual mission, this spiritual background in everything that she did. And that was the way her way to put theosophy into practice. The 1960s marked a period of triumph for her. They celebrated the Kalakshetra Silver Jubilee, and extensive national travels were done by her to promote her numerous causes. She was always a person that traveled a lot, delivering lectures initially with George Arundel, later alone, and many people around the world used to sympathize and support her causes. Beyond India, she had a lasting impact on one of the Theosophical Society's international centers. Because from the 40s, she led the Huizen Center in Holland, that is the Naarden Center, the International Theosophical Center in Naarden, of which George Arundel was the president. And she became not the president, the director, the head, basically. And she remained the head of Naarden Center until her passing in 1986. She used to visit annually Naarden, and she planned the reconstruction of the Besan Hall, that is the one you can see in the picture for those who have not been there. Her connection to this Naarden Theosophical Center was very, very strong. She really was a place really near to her heart. And it played a crucial role in her global outlook. This center was dedicated to spiritual study and meditation, and was a hub for theosophical thinkers from around the world and Europe. And it is still a landmark of theosophical international activity and also local activity. So a lot of the contacts and supporters that she used to have were in part people that she used to meet in Naarden as well. And when you go to Naarden and talk to the people that is now in charge of the place, there is always a word about Rukmini Devi. There is always a good remembrance about her. You can really feel the way she touched every place, every corner there, every person there that got to meet her, of course. However, personal losses began to mount in the 70s, including the passing of Sri Ram in 1973. Some health issues came to her life as well. And also some close friends dead at the time. And also the General Council of the Theosophical Society decided to relocate the Besan Memorial School, that was the only of the three bodies that I mentioned that was working still in what we know today, the Damodar Gardens, where Krishnamurti Foundation used to function after that, after a while. And okay, they had to move this center as well as to Tiruvanmur. So there were a lot of things happening at that time in her life. That was also the decade in which she got that famous call uh, that asked her to be the president of India. Rukmini Devi's presence continues to resonate in the temple of dance she brought to life, Kalakshetra, one of her lasting contributions to Indian arts. Nearly everything she envisioned materialized, not just in institution, but in the lives she touched. Actually, I was talking this morning with one of the persons that got to interact with her a little bit. She was a child at the time, Dr. Revati. And she was telling me that even if she didn't interact with her very much, she got to feel that presence of her during her birthdays. The children used to gather in front of her house, Arundale House, that is near to the main gate. And they used to chant and they used to, there was a moment of celebration every birthday of hers, that she was always trying to gather people to bring the children of the campus, etc. And Dr. Ravati was one of those children. She even got to give her she even received from her hands one award when she was in the Besant school. So she was having very fond memories of her. It was very beautiful to hear from someone that actually interacted with her. And even at her age that she is now, Dr. Revati, she has this she had this spark on her eyes when talking about Rukmini Devi's presence in the campus. She said that she used to pass in front of her house every day, very punctual, to go to Kalakshetra, come back for lunch, then return to Kalakshetra, etc. So really, all these ideals and all these projects were important because she touched lives. Her ideals of beauty, simplicity, and cultural refinement inspired many. Dr. Ravati was also telling me how she was very perfectionist. She wanted the costumes, the makeup, everything for her dancers, the movements, precise. And she was very insistent of this perfection as a way to praise God. Kalakshetra was declared an institute of national importance in 1933. Rukmini Devi Arundale was recognized among India Today's 100 people who shaped India and received, as I told already, a lot of honors, including the Sangeet Natak Academy Fellowship, Kalida Saman, the Padma Bhushan, that is a very big recognition. She was also commemorated with Indian postage stamps in 1987 and 1909. Her advocacy for animal welfare earned her the Prani Mitra Award and many other accolades. And in 2016, Google honored her with a doodle that you can see also on the screen. She passed away on February 24, 1986, just 5 days before her 82nd birthday and a week after Krishnamurti. In a symbolic tribute, their ashes were taken together by Krishna, that was Rukmini Devi's nephew. Yeah, nephew. And that kind of symbolized these shared journeys that we mentioned at the beginning, the mother of the world, the teacher of the world, two young people with a lot of potential and a lot of projection, worldwide projection. And basically, as you can see, she really lived her life in the way her inner inspiration led her to live, always pursuing her goals, but never forgetting that deep connection with the spiritual aspect of every single action that she endeavored. So here I will end my homage to Rukmini, Devi, Arundel. I thank everyone for joining and for your patience.